Good morning to you. My name is Peninah Wachera and welcome to the Younib breakfast show. As you can see today, I'm not alone in studio. Na hii ni kitu sasa imeanza kuwa frequent. I am having a guest who we will introduce kidogo tu. But before that, you know, mental health is an issue that most of us kama mayouth hatuzingati, and it's not even about the youth. We as people tumekuwa tukiona mental health like it's something normal, and we are not even taking a lot of things when it comes to mental health. So today I want us to discuss more about the mental health, and the topic of the day today will be anxiety. Mostly tunataka kujua how can somebody get anxiety, how does it even start, what are the types of anxiety disorders. Those are the things that we will be tackling today. Now, as you can see, nimesema niko na mgeni already here with us in studio, and I would like you to just introduce yourself and tell us what you do maybe, and yeah, let everybody get to know you.
So my name is Hemstone. I'm a psychologist based here in Nairobi, and I'm very happy to be on this show today to educate all of us about the major issue of mental health. I'm looking forward to a good show with you.
You're welcome. So this is the Younib breakfast show, if you just don't know, but I know you know about it. Welcome, and I hope that now we'll be able to also talk to people and let them know more about the mental health and more so about the anxiety. So tukianza, mental health is a broad topic, I know, and we cannot even start and finish it today because it's something that it's like it has a lot in it. So I just want you to maybe briefly tell us about mental disorders. What are mental disorders?
Okay, thank you for that question. So mental disorders are actually impairments in our functioning, and they affect how we feel, how we think, and how we behave. So huku nje utasikia wasee wakisema wazimu, but there are very many mental disorders according to the DSM-5, which is a tool that is used to diagnose mental disorders. So there are varieties of mental disorders, various categories, and they have specific symptoms. Each disorder has a specific criteria for diagnosing it, very different from each other, although some of them share the symptoms. So mental disorders are very common, just that you may not really know if you're suffering from one, and raising awareness on this could be a good thing.
It could be a good thing.
Yeah, sure.
So if you're at home and you think that maybe you have a problem mentally, and it doesn't have to be it's something big. Everybody has a problem mentally. Am I right? At some point, yeah. All of us have these mental problems, and sometimes we are not able to express, or we don't even know who we'll go to, and that is why we're having this show today, to be able to spread awareness when it comes to mental health. So the topic today is anxiety, and I know anxiety to some people, all of us maybe in one point or another have experienced anxiety, but maybe we don't even know how to do or to deal with it. Maybe our friends, our family have experienced anxiety. So I want us now to dive into the anxiety point. So just to ask, how common is anxiety?
So anxiety is a very common thing. And all people from all ages at some point will experience anxiety. Actually, talking of anxiety, there are anxiety disorders, and right now anxiety disorders are the most common mental disorders in the world. Yeah, it's a very common thing. The most affected populations are the young adults from 18 to 25. Yeah.
So you've spoken about anxiety disorders. So what are these types of anxiety disorders?
Okay, so there are several types of anxiety disorders. The most common one is the generalized anxiety disorder, which is not tied to a specific event or something. This individual often experiences the anxiety before events happen. Several rather different events happen. There is the one we call panic attacks. You experience extreme feelings, rather intense feelings of anxiety, just maybe before an event happens, and they normally last for about 20 minutes and they go away by themselves. There is also selective mutism. This is very common in children. It's a type of anxiety disorder which is very common in children, and you find that the children don't interact with others in school, even with the teachers, but while at home they interact very well. So it's that one is very common in children. There's also separation anxiety disorder, which is also common among children, adolescents to be precise, but it's normally as a result of separation by the parents or someone who's a caregiver to this child.
So we can say people who maybe are orphaned, or people who in one way or another have been separated from their parents, can suffer from the separation.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, there's also social anxiety disorder. That one, I'm sure very many adults experience it. Like you feel the anxiety whenever you're in front of people. You find that you cannot express yourself well when you're with other people, but when you are alone, you're very free with yourself. Yeah, so those are the common ones. Then there's also the one that's caused by substance abuse. So that this person, whenever they are under use, they often experience anxieties. Yeah. So
let me just take you back to the social anxiety. So when do we say now, like, I am social anxiety? Because there's somebody who maybe is there are the different types. I understand, kuna introvert, kuna extroverts, and you know some introverts are unable to stand in front of people and talk. Would we categorize that as social anxiety?
So being introverted is a form of personality, and when someone is introverted, it's only that they don't like expressing themselves to people so much. They don't like social interaction so much. But for you to be diagnosed with this social anxiety disorder, it means whenever you are with other people, you feel uneasy, you feel some form of tension. So it's not okay to say everyone who is an introvert can have it, because some people are not introverts, but they'll still suffer from social anxiety disorder. So you find that you cannot really interact well with others. You feel uneasy whenever you are in the presence of others, maybe because of fear of judgment or embarrassment, but it's something that is internal. Yeah.
So if you're at home, I hope you're learning a lot when it comes to the type of anxiety disorder. Leo nimejua kuna social anxiety disorder. You at home, what have you gotten to learn when it comes to the different types of anxiety disorders? So as we continue, you've talked about panic attacks, you've talked about the generalized anxiety disorder. So just to take you back a little bit, when we say panic attack, and you've said already in the social, also there are people who are anxious when it comes to the social anxiety, who will also experience the panic attack. So is there a specific thing that now will distinguish between the generalized the anxiety type of anxiety and the social type of anxiety?
So as I mentioned, there's that document called the DSM, Diagnostic and Statistical Manual for Diagnosing these mental disorders. And actually psychiatrists are the ones who are in the right position to diagnose with a specific form of disorder. And the DSM-5 is very clear in the diagnosis of every type of anxiety disorder. They don't just generalize it. For you to be diagnosed with a specific one, there's a criteria you have to meet under that category. So it's okay to say that every specific anxiety disorder has its own criteria. Just that the generalized one cannot be tied to a specific event or activity. Yeah.
So when somebody is anxious now, I hope you have all understood about the types of disorders. So if you have any question, please feel free to engage with us through our social media platforms, Younib_TV on Instagram, Younib Media TV on Facebook, and also on YouTube. When you see it live, you can be able also to talk to us, and in one way or another, we'll get back to you through our psychologist here. So as we continue, what are the behavioral attributes or the changes that somebody now may spot from someone and say, this person is anxious?
Okay, the most common one among anxiety disorders is called moping behavior. Moping, ile ya kumop.
Unaosha chini?
No.
Oh.
Why moping?
Okay.
But in this context, it means that this person has a strong desire to just be alone. they don't want to interact with people.
Oh.
So that's the most common behavior among people who are experiencing anxiety disorders. There's another one called agoraphobia. That one means this person doesn't want to leave home. They just want to stay at home because they fear the events that could trigger those panic attacks or those anxieties. Another one is unhealthy coping mechanisms. You realize someone starting to use drugs and substances just a way of coping with certain feelings. That's also a behavior to watch out for. There are several other behaviors. You may just notice a person has changed their normal behaviors. Maybe they could even stop doing an activity that they've been enjoying before. Another way is also you may realize they may start avoiding a certain thing, maybe because that thing is the one that triggers the anxiety. There's also negative self-talk, which is a very common thing among people who are suffering from anxiety disorders. Those are the major behavioral changes.
Negative self-talk.
Yeah.
I think so. When we talk about negative self-talk, most people categorize it as self-esteem issues. So can we say it's just having self-esteem issues is a form of anxiety?
Okay. The most notable thing about mental disorders or psychological disorders is that they share several symptoms. You may just find that they differ maybe in one or two symptoms, but utapata hii disorder unaambiwa kuna negative self-talk, hii disorder ingine pia iko na negative self-talk. So self-esteem in itself is not a disorder. It's just maybe something that someone is experiencing, a challenge that they're experiencing. But for it to be called a disorder, it means it is clinically diagnosed. So for you to be diagnosed with any anxiety disorder, it means you've met the criteria for that specific one. Yeah. So self-esteem cannot guarantee that
it's an anxiety disorder.
Yeah.
So you've said about also the changes. One of the behaviors that you've said is somebody maybe aanze kukaa peke yake, si ndio? And maybe now how if a parent now out there notices that a child is losing interest in some things, and maybe in one way or another they're not even sure whether it is, because now in this day and age our parents mostly are not around. So maybe when a child in one way or another lose interest, so how specifically that utajua after seeing, maybe you have seen such changes, but maybe it's not because of anxiety, it can be because of other reasons. How will you now be able, like somebody, just a friend now can see and say, anyway, this person has anxiety, but in real sense this person doesn't have anxiety? How, and such a case comes to you, what will you do?
Okay. The first thing is that we have to notice we cannot really diagnose these individuals. You may be experiencing some symptoms, and then I find out they're just maybe related to a single event and it's not a disorder. So first of all, we need to avoid judging. You cannot make conclusions before you go through the diagnostic criteria. And then the only people, as I said, who can diagnose are trained professionals.
Yeah.
So whenever you just see these symptoms, it's your responsibility to be on the watch. Look at how they are going on. I mean, look at the persistence of the symptoms. How long have they been experiencing these symptoms? Kama ame lose activities, imekuwa for how long? Last how long? Na huwa ana lose interest in what moments? Maybe the duration, the intensity, and the frequency.
Okay.
Yeah.
So guys at home, I hope you are learning a lot when it comes to anxiety. And you know guys, it's something that everyone is going through. So if you see a friend who maybe in one way or another unaona anaka anxious, at least check on them. It's important to check on our friends, check on the people who are around us, because most of them maybe are going through mental health disorders, or not even disorders but mental health issues that now they are unable to find somebody to talk to. So with that, I want us to take a short commercial break, and we'll be back with more when it comes to the topic on anxiety. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back. Welcome back. If you're joining us right now, this is the Younib Breakfast Show here at Younib TV. Remember, you can be able to advertise with us through our number on the screen. That is 0719-144-144. Let us help you grow your business and take it to a notch higher than how it is right now. Also, guys, today we are speaking about mental health, and more so we are speaking about anxiety, and we have gotten to learn about the different types of anxiety disorders and how we can be able also to spot when somebody has anxiety in one way or another. So we are back here with our psychologist here to give us more info when it comes to anxiety. So tukiendelea kwanza, in your opinion, would you think that our country is taking seriously the mental health?
The truth is we are still behind. As a country, I would say not so many people have the awareness about mental health, and we still have a long way to go. In the modern days, people talk about physical health. As long as I don't have a headache, as long as my hands are not paining, I think I'm okay. But we come to realize that mental health is also a very key factor, because I may lose my hand and still function. I may lose my sight and I'll still function.
Yeah.
But whenever I lose my mental health, I cannot function. That's what defines me. I can only do whatever I'm doing because of the right mental health state. So I feel there's so much we still need to do in regards to mental health.
How does anxiety affect the people?
Okay. Of course, we say that there are several types of anxiety disorders, and it also depends with the triggers. So they may also affect individuals differently, because as humans we respond to different stimuli in different ways. But there are those common effects we can mention about, like increased in the blood pressure. You know, because of the uneasiness, you know, your heart pumps blood so fast. Some people may experience panic attacks. I think we can talk about that later.
Yeah.
Some others may experience headaches. Some may be irritable. Others may lose sleep. And some may also experience feelings of depression, being in low moods. Yeah, those are the most common ones.
Okay, just to make us know, what are the other feelings of depression? Because maybe we know, maybe yes, people have heard maybe about depression, wamesikia kuna kitu ka depression, but they don't know even what will make them depressed or how they will know they are depressed.
Okay, depression is in another category of disorders, mood disorders, because it only affects how we feel. Even if you're experiencing sudden thoughts, you know, they affect how you feel. They put you in very low moods. So diagnosing depression is also a clinical process. It has to be done by a clinician, because you can find me being in low moods, but that's not enough to say I'm depressed. So there are those general symptoms of depression to also look out for: being sad for prolonged periods, lacking sleep, or then we can just say change in sleep patterns. Some people may lack sleep, some others may sleep too much. There are also other things like losing appetite. You also lose pleasure in activities that you used to enjoy before. You isolate yourself. Those are the general symptoms of depression.
Okay, so guys, if you're at home and you see that you are having such symptoms, at least fikiria kidogo, think about your life kidogo, keti uji-evaluate, and then now you'll know whether you'll be able to go and see somebody who is maybe a psychologist or a psychiatrist, right? Yes, or a counselor. They may help you in knowing whether you are depressed or not, but all in all, find somebody who you can be able to talk to. So as we continue, we have talked about the different types of anxiety. Now I want to know, what are the causes of anxiety? You know, there are different, kuna reasons different sana zenye make people to become anxious. As you said, kuna the social aspect. So, I know that there are people who suffer from depression because of their family lineage. So how now can we say now, what are the causes of anxiety?
Okay, so anxiety is not a new thing. It has been there. Unfortunately, the causes of anxiety are yet to be fully understood, because it's something that comes from within. Unlike stress, which can be caused by external factors, anxiety is something that is internal. So science has tried to establish, and they can only point out to risk factors. Of course, you mentioned something like genetics. Genetics can also or rather expose someone to these disorders. So they are not direct causes of anxiety, because what makes you anxious is not what may make me anxious.
Yeah.
But there are those risk factors which genetics can be one of.
Are they now? What are the risk factors that now may be causes that most scientists have said to be?
Trauma. People who have experienced traumatic events are at a higher risk of having anxiety and anxiety disorders. Also, people who suffer from other mental disorders.
So before we get to people who suffer, what are the, like, traumatic events, meaning grief? What are the other types of traumatic events?
You mentioned one, which is grief, accidents, displacement, wars. Things that really take a mental toll on you, things that you find difficulty coping with. We just term them as traumatic events. So
loss, also having loss of job, loss of friends. But can friendship and heartbreak, can they be type of loss?
Yeah, loss is loss. As long as it's something that meant so much to you and now you can no longer have it, that's a loss, and you'll have to go through the process of grief. Just that the process of grief for everything may be different, because the way you may mourn losing a friend, maybe not death, maybe a friend has gone away and you're not going to meet them again. It's not the same way you may mourn losing a parent to death. Yeah.
Okay, so now to the second cause.
Okay, so we had talked about traumatic events.
Yeah.
We've also said that people who have other mental disorders. If you suffer from another mental disorder, it could be depression, it could be bipolar, it could be schizophrenia, you are at a higher risk of suffering from anxiety or rather anxiety disorder. Yeah, there's something we call comorbidity, that you have two disorders existing in you at the same time. Yeah. So also people who use drugs and substances, na pia alcohol is drug. So they are also at higher risk of developing anxiety disorders and experiencing anxiety.
You've made me to think for a minute there. Clearly there are people who say that alcohol is not a drug.
Oh, you haven't heard that?
No.
People, whenever we say drugs, people say, but me, I don't use drugs. I use alcohol. I think drugs is cocaine, marijuana, tobacco. Yeah. So that's why nowadays, even if you read so many books, they'll specify alcohol and other drugs.
Oh.
Yeah.
So if you're at home and you think that alcohol is not a drug, you've known today that alcohol is part of drug and substance abuse. And I think that also people think that alcohol is not a drug because it's something that everyone is using now and then. Yeah. The only restriction is the age. So it's like it's a normal thing for people, because growing up you've seen people drinking and it's not doing harm to them maybe in one way or another. So they just take the aspect and make it like, okay, this is a normal thing. It's normal for us.
Yeah, sure. Alcohol is legal, so people think drugs are those things that are prohibited, but as long as it affects how your body works. Even Panadol is legal, but you can abuse it. So as long as it affects how your body works, that's a drug. Whether it's legal or illegal, it's still a drug.
Okay.
Whether it's socially acceptable or not, it remains to be a drug. Yeah.
Other causes?
Other causes, people may also experience anxiety because of an existing physical illness. For example, someone who is diabetic, someone who has high blood pressure, someone who also have maybe HIV, they are likely to experience these anxiety disorders. Yeah, those are the most common ones. Or maybe to add one, personality also. Different forms of personality expose people to different mental disorders. So there are specific personalities that if someone has, they could be exposed to anxiety disorder, like what you mentioned, someone who is introverted. They are most likely going to feel uncomfortable around other people, and they could experience social anxiety disorder.
Is there any other personality that is also prone to anxiety?
There are several personalities, although anxiety now is linked to an event rather than a personality. So we are just like a certain personality can, it's only a likelihood. So that example is the most relevant one you can use.
So introverts mostly, like, are most probably to.
They are likely, yeah.
Okay, are more likely to. So that's good to hear. If you're at home, and I hope you're learning a lot, maybe to help yourself and also to help your friends. You know, it's good sometimes to check on each other. As I say, we will say it most times, many times, and it is something that we have to really talk about in all ways. So we have talked about the causes. Not tumesikia the trauma. There's the traumas. There's the losing something that you want. I think that is in trauma. Yeah, that's in trauma. There's drug and substance abuse, and I hope you've also learned more when it comes to the causes of anxiety. So for the age gap, I remember you mentioned it. Why is now the young adult mostly prone to anxiety?
Okay, maybe to share the statistics first. The most people I said who suffer from social or rather from anxiety disorders are the young adults, and I say between ages 18 to 24, 25 there. Actually, 1 in every 2 suffer anxiety or rather an anxiety disorder. And then there are these adolescents, at least 1 in 3. And then those adults beyond 25, at least 1 in 4. So the reason as to why young adults are most likely to experience rather to suffer from anxiety disorders is that's a transitional stage. You are moving from childhood, actually an adolescent is still a child, to adulthood. There is a shift in responsibilities. There are upcoming responsibilities. That's when you've fully identified yourself. You're trying to shift from academics, from your career life into work life. So I think it's because of the many social expectations and the many changing responsibilities that young adults are likely to experience or that suffer from anxiety disorders.
So if you're at home, I hope you're learning more when it comes to anxiety disorders, and you've gotten to be enlightened more when it comes to the topic at hand. Remember, you can continue speaking to us or commenting or sharing your views or even your questions. You can be able to send them through our social media platform, that is Younib_TV on Instagram, Younib Media TV on Facebook, and also on YouTube. You can also advertise with us, and also you can sponsor this show. And by just saying advertise with us, there's a number on the screen. I want us to take a short commercial break, and we'll be back with more.
best. Hallelujah.
If you've just joined us right now, you're not too late. Lakini umechelewa kidogo tu. So today we are talking about mental health and mostly about anxiety. Na tumekuwa tukiongea hapa about the causes of anxiety. We've gotten to know the different types of anxiety disorders. We've gotten to also learn about who are the most prone when it comes to anxiety. So continue watching to be able to learn more when it comes to anxiety, the prevention, the treatment. Those are the things now we're going to tackle. Remember, you can be able to engage with us through our social media platform, that is Younib_TV on Instagram, Younib Media TV on Facebook, and also if you have not yet subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do so. Go right now, ama after hii show, ama kama unatuwatch kwa YouTube, just go there and subscribe and like and share, because through sharing we care. See, sharing is caring.
Sharing is caring.
Sharing is caring. Today we are doing mental health, and I know sharing is caring when it comes to the mental health side. So the Ministry of Health just recently has included mental health care in the newly enhanced medical scheme offered by the National Health by the NHIF. Do you see it as a stepping stone for the government taking mental health seriously?
Yeah, of course. As we said before, there's still a gap in the mental health sector. So people used to think that as long as you're physically healthy, then that's okay. That's why mental health wasn't there before in the NHIF, whatever.
Yeah.
So it's a right step, because people will be able now to seek treatment whenever someone feels he's not okay. He's able to reach out because he feels it will be catered for.
Yeah.
So it's a step in the right direction, and we are actually hoping for more to come.
For what to come.
Yeah.
What is your advice now for the government? What more should the government do when it comes to the mental health?
Okay. Mental health services have been for a very long time left in the hands of the private sector. Most counseling centers around are owned by individuals and not the government. It's not easy for you to find a mental health practitioner, who works for the government. So I think the best thing the government can do is to also try and match the investment that the private sector has put in the mental health, to take up some of those responsibilities, because when the government takes up a responsibility, they'll be focused on service delivery mostly. Yeah.
We have talked about the causes of anxiety. Now I want you just to tell us, how can we be able to prevent anxiety? Ama, is there any way we can prevent anxiety?
Okay. You remember when you talked about the causes, we said it has not yet been clearly established.
Yeah.
So, when the causes are clearly established, you can also identify the ways to prevent. So anyone is going to face an anxiety or attack, or rather suffer from anxiety disorder, without knowing directly what has caused it. But then we can be on the watch out to prevent the severity of those anxieties and anxiety disorders. So the first thing is seeking help early. Whenever you feel like you're very anxious and it's affecting your functioning, reach out for help, because the earlier you curb it, the better. If you let it go on and it affects the rest of your life, it will be very hard for you to deal with it. Another thing to do is avoiding drug use. I think we've talked about that so much because it's the most common coping mechanism that people use. Whenever I feel anxious, I use a certain drug. My nerves are going to calm and I'll relax. So we also avoid drug use. That can also be important in helping to prevent the severe effects of anxiety disorders. And another thing is staying active. Actually, people need to really invest in activities that make them happy. Most people experience anxieties when they are alone and when they are not very active. So staying active, engaging in activities that you really enjoy can also be a good way of coping and preventing severe effects of anxiety.
So you've said seeking help early, avoiding drug and substance abuse, because most times we rush to drugs when we feel anxious, and now investing ourselves in things we love doing. Those are the main things. I hope you're taking notes. You see, I'm in class. I hope hapo pia ukiwa nyumbani pia you're getting to learn more when it comes to how to prevent, so that at least hata ukiwa nyumbani you don't be usikue one of the people who are now having problems when it comes to anxiety. So treatment, let's talk treatment when it comes to anxiety.
So when it comes to treatment, there are only two forms of treatment. One is psychotherapy and the other one is medication. So psychotherapy, in other terms, they call it talk therapy. It is offered by psychologists and counselors. Psychologists have developed a tool which is called CBT, Cognitive Behavioral Therapy. It is very effective in treating anxiety because its focus is on helping this person to acquire coping skills to deal with those symptoms and consequently to reduce those symptoms of anxiety. So they also use something we call exposure therapy. Exposure is when you're exposed to that thing that makes you anxious. After having identified what makes you anxious, you're exposed to it until it becomes normal to you, and the anxiety symptoms can really disappear or rather go down. The other form I mentioned is medication. Medication is very important. Though many people don't like taking medication because they think medication is meant for those people with severe symptoms or other severe illnesses. So there are medications which are made to relieve anxiety symptoms. The most common ones are sedatives actually, which are used to calm the brain and to make you relax and continue functioning. So the modes of treatment is psychotherapy and medication.
Maybe you can tell or talk to somebody at home. There are people who say that therapy is not for the black people. Therapy is something that they cannot do simply because they understand that once you go to therapy, you're maybe making yourself lower, or you're taking your ego down. So maybe you talk to somebody at home and let them know that it's good to go for therapy. You don't have to even be sick to go for therapy.
Okay, first of all, I wouldn't blame the people at home because they don't have that understanding of mental health and mental health issues. But right now, there's that increased knowledge. People are coming to understand that mental health is important. They're coming to understand mental disorders. And when you understand mental disorders, you'll understand there is need for seeking out for help. So therapy is actually not magic. You just need to establish a relationship with a person who is very well trained, to have a very good relationship with you, a relationship where you will feel safe, you are free to share, and he helps you to find solutions to your challenges. So therapy is good. Actually, I think everyone should at some point go for therapy. You don't have to wait for you to get to a problem, rather for your problem to get worse. You can always seek out for help and prevent these mental disorders from getting worse.
So we try therapy, we together, we at home, we here, we all try therapy. So I want us now to just shift a little bit to something to jog ourselves or our mind a little bit. So we always have a segment here where we maybe challenge somebody to do something. Previously we've done tongue twisters, we've done games. So right now, today we are doing 2 truths and 1 lie. So I'm giving you 3 options, 3 statements actually. 3 statements, you're the one to detect a lie. Which one is a lie? Okay, you ready?
I'll try.
Number 1, Kenya has the highest mountain in Africa. Number 2, I'll just say the 3 and then now you'll detect the false one. Number 2, the first woman to win a Nobel Prize was a Kenyan. And finally, Kenya has 50 national parks and reserves.
The first statement is false.
Kenya has the highest mountain in Africa.
Yeah.
Very true. It's false. The highest mountain in Africa is in Tanzania. Mount Kilimanjaro. If you're at home also, you can join in the fun. You can be able also to send in your videos ukijibu hizi maswali, or even you can make it even more interesting by asking your friends such questions at home, so that you can be able to build each other na pia to have fun together, sindio? So number 2, one species of jellyfish is immortal. Horses are capable of seeing nearly 360 degrees at a time. Bulls are endangered by the color red, which is false.
Can I guess?
Yes.
Bulls are endangered by the color red.
Hey, it seems like you're a good guesser.
That's a guess.
That's actually false. Yeah, you're right. So the bulls are endangered by the color red. So it's a false. Many people believe that when a bull sees a red color or a red thing, it will come and itakuja ikugonge. So it's false. But the others are correct. The last question. Your eyes blink around 20 times a minute. Human beings only use 10% of their brains, and the body has 2.5 million sweat pores, which is incorrect.
That you only use 10% of your brain.
Yeah, definitely. That was actually easier for you because you've done psychology.
Sure.
Yeah, so you can maybe tell people at home that what percentage do people use of the brain?
Actually, the brain is the only organ that never rests. Whenever your heart pumps blood, it rests and then pumps again. But the brain is always active. So your brain is always active all the time.
100%.
Yeah.
So if you're at home now, unadhaningi vile unasikianga watu wakisema ati, oh, you only use 10% of your brain, like sijui a genius is the one who uses 100% of their brain. So you guys at home, you have gotten to understand that every human being uses 100% of their brain.
Sure.
It's not 10%. So it's a misconception, it's a myth that people need to understand. So my final question is, do you do free counseling?
Okay, to answer that question, I would say counseling is a profession like any other. And for you to get any service, there has to be a form of compensation. So it's not easy to find a counselor who gives free services, because for a counselor to have a session with you, they have invested their time, their energy, and their resources.
Yeah.
For example, you go to a counseling room, that person is paying for that room, paying rent. That person has invested his time there.
Yeah.
So it's not easy to find individuals who do free counseling. But the good thing is that we have organizations which have been able to mobilize some funds, and whenever you reach out to them, they're always ready to offer free services.
Free services.
Yeah.
Okay, so just to conclude, maybe you can tell somebody at home who maybe is interested to coming for you or to coming to you for therapy. You can give them the details, the social media platform, so that they can be able to get in touch with you.
Okay, thank you. So you can always reach out to me on Facebook. I use the name Hemstone Mugala. On Twitter, it's Mugala_Hemstone. On Instagram, it's Hemstone_Mugala. I personally offer different types of therapy, and you can always reach out to me throughout my number, which is 0726 26 7020. Thank you.
So guys, I hope you have enjoyed this episode and you have gotten to know more about the mental health issues and more so anxiety and the type of disorder it has. Thank you so much for coming to our show, for enlightening us and also making us understand more about anxiety. I know kuna watu wenye tulikuwa nyumbani and we have not been knowing that it is important to actually go for therapy, and this is something that you've been able to now teach us or even tell us about the importance of it. Thank you so much for the time also and for being there for us also to learn. Thank you so much.
And thank you for hosting me on the show.
You're welcome.
We look forward to educate the world more about mental health, so that we can handle these, mental health issues that are on the rise. Thank you.
Okay, so you at home, I hope you have been able to learn a lot when it comes to anxiety. From my guest and I want to say goodbye. Have an amazing day ahead.